I have spoken much and written just as widely on matters past, but my mind is too often drawn to the present time, and always when I least desire it. Just as I only now reflected on the departure of the Orgoth, my mind wanders to matters more recent, of when we drove the Infernals away. 5 years. That should be but a moment in my lifetime, and yet it feels as though those years have sped me so much more quickly towards death. At times I have and can give no sense of order to what the world is like now. The nations of Imoran are irrevocably, and some perhaps irretrievably, changed. Our peoples would tell you many things, it is likely, but little of it is bright. What optimism was had in the years of that short-lived modern era, as the humans labelled it, was barely dimmed by the wars among humanity and the necromancers and those of the wilds and the empire from the east. True, that optimism weakened when the wicked harvest occurred, the coming of the Grimkin and the defiers that led them. But that was as nothing next to the arrival of the Infernals, those horrors from another dimension that came for human souls, but wished to stay for the souls of everyone else. We may have survived that upheaval, but our optimism and hope has not. Mine, at least, has not. Even those we considered anathema to our very being before the invasion of the first Grimkin, and then Infernal, those who have ever been the enemy of the civilized of Imoran, have been brought low and rendered silent. So much has happened that I do not wish to ponder or reflect. So, yes, other places, other peoples. I must distract myself. The humans of Western Imoran have rarely been a united people, and for a brief moment, as during the rebellion against the Orgoth, they suffered and fought together. But as at that time, now in the aftermath, distrust is rife, and the different directions that the nations have taken make the threat of war more and more real with each passing month. And yet it has been but a few years after the Infernals were defeated, however temporarily, at the unprecedented battle at Hengehold, the site of unequal heroism and death. But now, where some prosper, others struggle on, while others yet still may soon cease to exist. And just as Imoran still bears many scars, monuments to the dead and brave can be found, including the one at that site of battle, designed and built by the hands of many from all over Western Imoran. Those who lost their homes amidst the devastation now find new homes in far-off Signaran suburbs or the Rulig freeholds that have grown around the most populated of their mountains. Those two nations opened their borders to all peoples and all faiths, even if the locals took advantage or reacted to these newcomers in different ways. Just as the bonds between Rulfolk and Ogren, Signaran and Trollkin grow in different ways. But it does not take much more than a look at King Julius to see which is the more idealistic. Nevertheless, both of these nations, almost on opposite sides of the continent, have seen fit to take in sizable minorities, and those that already existed have grown. Neighbours, once unthinkable, are now, if not common, at least far from rare. In so saying, the rival faiths of humanity are no less altered, not in their beliefs, which remain as strong, or even stronger than before, but their attitudes towards each other, even if it be out of expedience rather than any true desire. From this, the Moral Order of Illumination, alongside Thamorite advocates and those Menite exemplars that remain in Imoran, together the three faiths of mankind root out and destroy infernalism where they find it, for that is the new fear of humanity, that the Infernals will return once more in strength. But the Morrowians are a decided majority now, south of the Thornwood Forest, for the Protectorate of Menoth is but a shell of the proud nation it once was. While some thousands escaped through the gate at Hengehold, many were left behind, and, under the leadership of the sovereign Durant, departed on an exodus south, across the ocean, to where another part of humanity had not felt the influence of the Infernals. I hear they have settled in a new city dubbed New Ichthia. Their former homes, Imer and Sul among them, lay crumbling, ruled by paranoid pretenders whose domains grow ever smaller. Many of those that departed neither Caen nor with Durant now find their homes in other realms away from the Protectorate, even that kingdom they once defiantly proclaimed independence from. Instead, the old faith finds its surest adherents in Cador, for the people, left leaderless in many regions, have needed to turn to others beyond their nobility, denuded by the corruption of infernalists which affected the Northern Empire more than any other nation, it seems. Slowly, the Empress Ain is rebuilding with those few who remain, even if she does not have the resources of some of her neighbours, or the equanimity of other peoples or minority faiths, for the Cyricists openly worship now, albeit almost entirely within Signar, lending their knowledge and technology to that nation. It is no secret that for all their people will weather a great deal, Cadorans look upon their southern rival with envy once more. And the countries that lay between these two sometime adversaries have also changed, but perhaps not as greatly, though they are now allied in a manner that none others can claim. Ord and Lael, though distant nations, are bound by a royal marriage, the machinations of the shrewd King Baird. Just as he maintained Ord's neutrality before the claiming, Baird continues to keep the integrity of his lands and its borders the priority of his rule. But while Ord benefits from its connections with Lael, the latter is not so surely kept by them. Caitlin has struggled to exert herself amidst the ever-cutthroat jostling of her nobles and their ambitions, while her nation picks up the pieces of so many wars fought on its soil. She hopes that the return of the Order of the Golden Crucible can aid in her country's recovery, while her people try to restore their culture, trodden on by so many outsiders as it has been. It is strange to say such a thing, but the Nightmare Empire suffered too during the time of the claiming, even though they would seek to reap the souls that the invaders wished to, and did, take. The pirate fleets of the Shard Islands, Gullgast, and the Broken Coast retreat to their ports, and their ventures towards the coasts of Signar, Cador, and Ord are blessedly, eerily infrequent. Like their sometime allies, but often enemies, the Crixians have taken this time to recover and rebuild, though we do not know Torek the Dragonfather's intentions, at least not yet. But what of Isles? No, I am not ready to speak of that yet.